Someone left apparently. Welcome back to Venture Super League. It's Dave Williams and me, and we're going to look at Caleb Durward against Bob Maher.
Yeah, it should be an exciting match. I played Bob 2 weeks ago, and it was tough. It was close. I didn't get to play Caleb, but I watched his match. I like his list. It's interesting to say the least. It's got Scab Clan Berserker, a card you don't see very often in Vintage, and I don't think it's going to be very hot in this match. I think this is the match he was intending to have it in against. But usually, go ahead.
Yeah, but I don't like Caleb's deck against shops, really. I don't like Bob's deck in this matchup either, but Caleb isn't very well set up, I don't think.
Yeah, usually the strongest part of these decks is Delver itself, and he's only got 2 Delvers. I mean, a first-turn Delver can be really difficult and, a pretty quick clock for a shop stack, but with only 2, and the rest of his creatures, his Pyromancers cost 4, his Pyromancers cost 2, Scab Clans cost 3. You're not just going to run out of turn 2 Snapcasters. So, yeah, he doesn't have as many quick threats he can get out as a normal Delver deck, which is going to make it a lot tougher for him.
But I think, at least like the way he constructed his deck, I think he can sideboard out all the junk that he has. That shouldn't be a problem for him. Also, I don't understand the one Manic Vandal in the sideboard. Is that because it's human for Cavern of Souls in some other matchups?
I'm guessing. I mean, costing 3 seems like a pretty rough against the shop's deck. I mean, that's the beauty of Ingot Chewer. It costs 1, but it doesn't cost 1. So I don't really know about the Manic Vandal. I'd be interested to ask Caleb about it. I mean, I'm guessing it has to do with the Cavern of Souls, right?
Yeah. I mean, he only plays 2, but that's the only thing I can come up with.
I guess if he just somehow doesn't have red mana, he can still play an artifact removal spell, but it seems a little strong to not have red mana and have 3 mana available.
Yeah, I mean, his deck is mainly red, right? Like, he should have red mana available. Although, I guess his mana is kind of shaky. I mean, he's got, what, 10, 11 red sources plus a Black Lotus? That's not much.
Yeah, he does have 3 basic lands, which is nice, which is huge against Wasteland decks. So that's good. But Bob, Bob has Tabernacle in his main deck too, which is also pretty backbreaking against a deck like Caleb's. That's going to try to kind of get aboard with Pyromancer tokens, Elemental tokens.
And Caleb doesn't have anything, right? There's no Strip Mine. Oh, there's 1 Strip Mine. No, there's no Strip Mine, right? I think it's only mana producing lands.
Yeah, no, Strip Mine. It's pretty hard to have a Strip Mine in Caleb's deck because it's already so light on lands and it needs colored mana for so many things. I mean, Scab Clan Berserker's double red, lots of blue. Having a colorless land in his deck would be pretty ambitious.
It's still pretty tough for me to imagine Scab Clan Berserker being any good without Black Lotus. It's just so slow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of a metagame call. I think he thought that shops wouldn't be very prevalent, especially because of the reduction of Lodestone Golem, but also with this group. I mean, this group does not look like a group that's likely going to play a lot of shops.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly great against Storm. I mean, even turn 2, just so good.
Yeah, I'm looking at Bob's list. I mean, Smokestack doesn't really seem great against Pyromancers, but if he can get like a Tabernacle in combination with it, he could do some havoc there. The Crucibles are going to be brutal because, like I said, he doesn't have many mana producers in his deck, Caleb. So any kind of reusable mana destruction effect could be huge.
But it's really important for Bob to get to his Tabernacle, I think. Like, Bob doesn't have any creature defense. He doesn't have Ensnaring Bridge. Basically, he has Spheres to slow him down, Tangle Wire to tap some stuff. But then I think he has to get Tabernacle into play. Otherwise...
Who plays Ensnaring Bridge?
I mean, some people do. I'm not certain it was a good decision, but...
No, I like that. I mean, a mentor, it's hard to get over Ensnaring.
I'm sure Bob would prefer Ensnaring Bridge in this matchup over Tangle Wire.
I mean, he does have the Thespian Sage Dark Deaths combo, which, like, Caleb's deck doesn't have Plow, doesn't have a lot of ways to deal with that. If he gets that quickly, he can actually outrace Caleb's deck, which is kind of ridiculous.
It's a token, though, right?
Yeah, it is a token. Why does he have? Am I missing something?
He has a repeal.
He has a repeal, yeah. He does have 1 repeal, which is kind of sweet.
There's one solution, at least. But yeah, in general, his head goes off. Also, I mean, if he gets an Expedition map off, Tabernacle seems so good against Caleb. He just doesn't have any mana in his deck.
Yeah, it's insane that, usually shop decks don't run 4 Expedition maps, but because Bob has the Dark Depths Thespian stage, it makes that Tabernacle so much more potent. He's going to find it quite often. I mean, I wonder how often Bob's just going to go for a Tabernacle right away.
probably his best card in the matchup, I think.
Yeah, considering how land-light Caleb is. But it looks like the players are ready to go, so let's get to the match and solve all these questions we've been asking.
And there we go. And we have the Black Lotus along with the Skep Clan Berserker.
Wow, yeah, Caleb's hand is pretty solid. He's got a Black Lotus, first turn 2/2 haste that can become a 3/3, which is really hard for Bob to deal with once it's going. He does have a useless misstep. Looks like Bob mulliganed to hand. I didn't quite see what it was yet, but...
Oh, I saw a Black Lotus and some sphere effects and lands.
Yeah, it did look like that, but...
I assume that means Caleb is on the play, because I can't imagine that he would mulligan.
No, you can tell by looking above Bob's name. It says turn 1 VSL Durward. So
yeah, I mean that's
Caleb did win the die roll.
Yeah, I mean otherwise you just don't ever mulligan a Black Lotus on the sphere effect. But yeah, I mean if you're going second, that's pretty unexciting. I mean Bob's hand is nothing, right? I mean
he does have a first turn chalice for 2 if he wants, which locks out a lot of Caleb's pyromancers and snapcasters.
Yeah. Chalice for 2 actually, yeah, that locks out a pretty decent amount of cards.
But it's going to be rough when he's going to be facing down the Scab Clan Berserker, and he's not really going to have many answers to it other than finding a Tabernacle. He doesn't have a Wasteland anymore. He did have a Strip Mine or a Wasteland in his first hand. So theoretically, he would have to find a Tabernacle and find a Strip Mine and get rid of Caleb's land before Caleb draws another land, or he's not really going to have an answer to that Scab Clan Berserker.
I would probably lean towards mulliganing this. Like the second workshop is basically already a mulligan. Ancient Tomb doesn't do anything in this hand.
And what's the Mox is he's gonna take 3 from the first turn. I mean, take 2 from the first turn Scab Berserker, and then Mox is gonna do 2 to him. Chalice is gonna do 2 to him. Like every card he plays, this is actually a really rough spot for Bob right now.
Yeah, I mean, if he keeps this, I think he's in a very bad. Yeah, I agree. Mulliganing that. I mean, that's obviously the same hand with 1 card less. It's even the same Mox, right? Yeah, it's just actually the same hand without the second workshop.
Well, now he has a Wasteland, which is actually could be crucial here. So Caleb's going to probe him.
But yeah, there's only one play Caleb can do, right? I mean, I guess if he draws Ancestral, but
So Flusterstorm is dead here. Mental Misstep only really gets map. I still like Chalice for 2 in this matchup if I'm Bob. I mean, it does stop 2 cards in his hand right now too, which is Pyromancer. But because you don't have an answer to Pyromancer, you kind of want to stop it from coming down.
Well, I think to win this game, he has to find his Tabernacle anyway, and then the Pyromancer doesn't even matter all that much. But yeah, I would also... I mean, a lot of stuff gets locked out on Chalice for 2 in Bob's deck, right? That's a lot of cards he can't cast anymore.
Most of Sphere effects, and what else am I missing besides this?
4 Evoker, 8 Spheres. That's 12 cards.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't cast it for 1. He needs his Expedition maps, I think. So it's either 0 or 2.
Yeah, and now with Cavern of Souls, actually, right, you can cavern through Chalice of the Void, I believe, also. So it doesn't actually do that much for stopping creatures anyways.
Yeah.
But he does have a Wasteland to stop that.
It's probably just coming on for 0, I think. Oh wow, so he doesn't cast the Berserker.
Wow, I don't know.
That's
I mean,
surprising to me.
You get more power on the board right now, and I guess he figures, if he does do the other way, he needs another mana to get anything else on the board, but Bob has no real way to deal with this, the Scab Clan Berserker had it resolved.
Yeah. And I mean, Bob is playing all the power artifacts too, so taking 2 damage, cost all your mana, it's not going to work.
This line is actually insane, right? If Bob had Tabernacle and just plays Tabernacle here, he crushes him, whereas if he made the other line, he could just pay the upkeep and keep attacking with the Berserker. This line is super risky. I wonder if Caleb studied Bob's list, has studied Bob's list and knows.
There's the Expedition map.
Wow, so Bob can go get the Tabernacle.
No, it's getting Mental Misstep, right?
No. Oh, yeah, his misstep. And he can't
But
he can't chalice for one because then he couldn't cast his map. So it's kind of brutal to get it misstepped here.
oh,
Wow.
that's the resolve. Wow, he doesn't know that there's a tabernacle in the deck. Wow.
I think he actually might have F6'd.
Oh yeah, that was so fast actually. He
I think he
probably
might have F6 thinking there's nothing that... Because, if you think about it, Soul Ring is usually the only target that you're going to misstep in a normal shop stack because they don't all play.
But still, you're super happy to counter that if you have a Pyromancer in play.
I'm thinking he just probably had an actual mental misstep and F6. It was too fast. It almost had to be an F6. Yeah, now
he's pointing at the mental misstep. That was certainly a misclick. That's too bad.
So if I'm Bob, I play Ancient Tomb here so that I can sack this map and go get a Tabernacle for next turn. I mean, almost, I don't really see another option. I mean, because if you wasteland them, then you don't have the mana to have a land drop and pop the map. And you can always wasteland them the turn after you play the Tabernacle, and you don't have very long. You're taking 5 damage. So
yeah, I think he wants the Tabernacle in play first.
God, it's kind of insane because then he'd get a token if he misstepped that too, and this game would be pretty much over unless Bob top decked the Tabernacle himself.
Yeah, I think he has to actually manually draw it.
So this is actually a sweet play from Bob. He's going to Chalice for 1 right now because on his own turn he can map and get Tabernacle. He is taking 2 more damage, but he's shutting off a lot of Caleb's decks and cantrips.
Yep. So then he's taking 5, and he has to tap the tomb again. It's not really a problem.
He's going to be at 11 with Tabernacle, and Caleb can keep 1 creature, and then he's going to wasteland him. Caleb didn't draw land, so actually he's going to have no more. He's going to lose his entire board in offense. He's going to have to draw mana to cast something, and then mana to keep it alive. So this is actually going to get really brutal. So Bob needs to go get the Tabernacle now.
And Caleb doesn't have a strip mine to randomly draw into. It's going to be pretty difficult to get out of this spot.
But even if he drew the strip mine, he's still going to lose his creatures right now first.
Yeah, but I mean now it's going to be really difficult for him to ever get a creature into play again.
Yeah, I agree. It's like without having mana and with the wasteland coming, he's pretty much going to lose his entire board. Wow, if he had played first turn Scab Clan Berserker, Bob's life is so low right now, and all he needs to do is draw. He can pay the upkeep now, and if he draws a mana like now, the Berserker's just going to sit here and it's over.
Yep.
This is Bob has this thing, I remember thinking about back when he won a Pro Tour. He has this thing with his opponents. Something about Bob. And people just...
Even 15 years later, Brian Davis can't escape that stuff. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, it's all right though. He's an adult. He should be okay.
Yeah, but maybe that Pyromancer actually can get the job done, I guess. I mean, Bob doesn't really do anything right now.
Well, I mean, you can Tangle Wire, you lock him up, and then it actually taps his sack land, and you can wasteland it next turn if you want.
Well, I think you just wasteland the caverns, right?
I don't know. I mean, it is nice to cut. If you get him to tap out and you wasteland that, then he doesn't have blue mana to cast. I mean, I guess you have a Chalice out anyway, so he can't cast his 1-drops.
Is Delve actually
I think you want to wasteland it so you can stop him from gushing later. Like effectively that's an island.
Yeah, but the caverns also gets Delver through the Chalice, which is kind of nice to put an end to.
That is true, but there are only 2 Delvers to worry about, and hopefully you can draw some more land destruction spells. I really like stopping the Scalding Tarn while you can to prevent Gush. Although if he draws a land this turn, see now he can't wasteland the sack land anymore, so he's going to have to get the Cavern of Souls. Wow, what a crazy game! The Scab Clan Berserker would have just ended it. It would just be over.
I think so, yeah, by now.
I think this might be the turn he would be dying. I mean, he wouldn't even be play spells. He would have taken 2 on turn 1 and 3 on the next 3 turns. That's 9, 11, plus this Ancient Tomb and the spell. I mean, he would, this game. And the Tabernacle would be doing nothing.
He probably wouldn't even have cast the Chalice, I guess.
Yeah, no,
not worth taking damage for.
But he's had nothing else worth casting. He would literally just be dead.
Yep. Well.
I mean, it's still not over. I mean, Caleb has a solid hand. And he has a creature on the board that Bob has to find some way to deal with. He does have a Dark Depths in his hand, so if he's able to find a Thespian stage, he can make a giant monster.
He does have 1 wasteland already, so if you that's a good draw.
Yeah, that's a great draw. He can cast that and strip his land and leave him on, and not being able to really do anything other than Force of Will.
Yeah, it's gonna take 2 turns until Caleb can attack the pyramids again.
Right, and if Caleb's paying upkeep, he can't cast Force of Will once he gets out of the Tangle Wire either. So he's dealing with with it slowly. He's got a few more turns. Oh, Caleb's going to Force of Will the sphere. I like that.
Sure, that's fair enough. Token is not going to help him all that much, but I'm sure Bob is a pretty big favorite at this point. Like, Caleb's plan has to be to just win with the Pyromancer, right? Yeah, that seems so unlikely to work out.
Yeah, he needs 5 more attacks with it.
Yeah.
And that's after it gets out from under the Tangle Wire.
Like, Smokestack would also crush him. He doesn't have Mishra's Factory, at least. But I guess the replacement is Thespian Stage, which is also game over right now. That was not a land.
Yeah, that's
yeah. Yeah, I mean, Caleb has so much junk in his deck for game 1 too. Like, he drew both Flusterstorm and Mindbreak Trap. Not very helpful.
Yeah, both those cards don't do anything in this matchup at all. Interesting enough, Bob actually has spells in his sideboard to the where I considered keeping a Flusterstorm because to counter his members, and he has spells in his sideboard. I was thinking, oh, there's Thespian Stage, so he has the combo.
Yep.
Did he? I feel like he didn't play a land last turn, which I was kind of wondering about because now he could theoretically just play them and do it now.
I thought he played Wasteland, or it might have been the turn before.
Yeah, he might have. I don't think he's that. Bob's not playing that loose, so yeah, I don't think so.
But yeah. So now he can. He can't even probe. Never mind, that gets counted.
Yeah.
And you can't even repeal the token, right? Because that would be a 1 casting cost spell.
Yep.
So Chalice protects it. Yeah, that's just game over.
So yeah, it looks like he did play Wasteland last turn.
No, nothing in Caleb's deck. Yeah, I mean that makes it a bit easier.
Yeah, another thing.
I don't think there was anything in Caleb's deck anyway.
So I mean, I can't think of any reason not to play this Tangle Wire. I mean, you don't want him to tap his. I guess he has to pay upkeep, so yeah, he can't do anything now. So you don't need to play it now.
Yeah, I mean, Bob has deck lists too. I mean, he just knows that there's no card in Caleb's deck that does anything. He can't burn him out. Can't get rid of the token.
Caleb could draw the Wasteland, or the Strip Mine. So you might want to make your token now because if he draws the Strip Mine and plays it on his
no, that was my mistake. He doesn't have it.
Oh, he does. Oh yeah, we were talking. He doesn't have any colors.
Yeah,
deck.
He only has
really
I mean, I'm sure if there was a Strip Mine, Bob would have already used the Thespian Stage.
Yeah.
And this game
looks up. I think he's making a what? The creature has the creature flies, right? Doesn't the
yeah,
it flies.
Yep.
Pretty sweet tech if it didn't fly to like make a chump blocker, but. All right, so that's weird because it's like a small minor decision that just spiraled out of control that game. Had he played turn 1 Scab Clan, I literally don't see how he could lose that game. I mean, not in his defense, his play looked strong. I think he probably just wasn't familiar with the deck list and forgot about the Tabernacle, and then he also F6'd. So it's small little, almost sloppy things that cost him that match, where I think had he studied the deck list and not used F6, he would have easily not had either of those 2 things happen to him. But one small mistake, snowballs out of control, and it puts Bob right in control of this match.
Yeah, I think if he mental missteps the expedition map, then he just wins. No matter what line it takes. Like, given the cards that Bob drew.
Bob's pretty lucky. He probably just draws Tabernacle right off.
That's a good point.
The sideboard, he does have an Annul, 2 Ingot Chewers, a Hercule's Recall, that's 4. Manic Vandal is 5. I don't think you might want to Bolt if you have a junk card, which is 6 you can bring in, and you can take out Mindbreak Trap, 2 Flusterstorms is 3. You can take out the Sudden Shocks if you want.
So Hercule's Recall too, right? That has to come in, right?
Oh yeah, no, I said 6. Hercules, Annul,
sure.
Got Chewers, and 1 Manic Vandal, and maybe a Bolt.
Yeah, I mean, certainly you have Bolt over Sudden Shock in your deck, right?
Yeah, so Sudden Shocks are out. Mindbreak Trap and Flusterstorm is out. That's 5. I don't know if you want 4 mental missteps. I mean, it does stop the map, which is pretty huge against you. You do want to keep it
Yeah.
from resolving.
It's also, Bob has mental missteps in his sideboard. So if I'm Caleb, I would expect Bob to board in mental misstep.
Well, that was
Then I would
another
just.
reason why I kept him. I kept it. It was weird. It's so hard to sideboard against Bob's sideboard. He has missteps himself. He has Batter Skull, which is actually pretty insane against Caleb's deck. Dismember is great against Caleb's deck. So he's got.
So Bob did board in his mental missteps, and they're going to hit the turn 1 Delver. That's pretty rough for Caleb. I mean, that hand would be great if the Delver resolves. Do you force a will?
I think Force of Will. I mean, it's powerful enough that once it's out, it doesn't give Bob much time. And there's not a whole lot in Bob's deck you want to Force of Will right away because he doesn't play. There's no Lodestone Golem anymore. He has one, but
Yeah,
I think I would Force of Will backup.
Yeah, but I mean, if he Force of Wills back, then Bob has a turn 2 Better Skull, which is going to be a pretty big problem.
No, yeah, I mean, he is Force of Willing back, which I think you kind of have to do. You can't just count on him. Maybe he has something insane like a Batter Skull. Like, this Delver's pretty important turn 1.
Yeah, it's pretty rough to Force of Will a mental misstep, but yeah, so you have to do it.
And Bob has a map. So this is actually pretty gross.
Smokestack.
Wow, Bob has a lot of choices. He could play turn 1 Smokestack. He could play a map.
I think I turn 1 Smokestep and then turn 2 Better Skull and map.
I agree. And then he has to sack a permanent, and you've got plenty of permanents you can sack at that point.
Smokestack is such a beating against Caleb if he doesn't have his Pyromancer. He just doesn't have permanents in his deck.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really love Mox Workshop Smokestack. Stack 0, bring it to 1, play a land and a Batter Skull. I don't think you can play Batter Skull and map. Oh, yeah, you can't. You have Ancient Tomb.
Ancient Tomb, yeah.
And map. And then if you want, you can just sack your land after tapping it for mana to go get an Academy or a Tabernacle.
I mean, you did say that Bob is pretty lucky, and you can see it in action right here.
No, but Bob is one of the luckiest humans I know. I mean... So the smokestack here, he's going to check his top.
He has to flip it if he wants to win this game, I think.
It does flip, and he gets a probe, so he's...
And he gets to see the Better Skull, yeah, that's helpful. I mean, at least you know what the Preordain has to dig for.
But what can you... I guess you have to hope to hit a blue card off this, which you did. Now you need to find a Force of Will.
Well, he does have, like, shatter effects, right? He has, like, Manic Vandal and...
That is true, but he knows he needs to find something.
Yeah, exactly. Now he knows that he has to dig for that stuff.
I think, I mean, you see more cards with Ponder, right? I think I would have pondered.
Yeah, I think usually you ponder first. Maybe he's fine with the blue land. Like, maybe he thinks that he just wants to play lands anyway because of the smokestack. So, that's a blue mana source, but a pretty terrible one.
I'm guessing he put them on the bottom. I don't think he wanted that card. Unless he wanted a mana source to cast Ponder, but I don't know. No, it looks like he's not casting Ponder.
Yeah, I think I would wait. Like, casting Ponder by sacrificing a Lotus Petal is pretty bad.
No, yeah, I agree, but I didn't know if he was trying to find, like, an artifact removal spell. Maybe.
Yeah, but, like, basically that Lotus Petal represents a land. Because next turn he's going to have to sacrifice something to smokestack.
Right.
So I think you want to keep that in play and just hope for the best.
All right. Dark Depths doesn't do much.
Well, that's until Bob draws the other thing next turn, but...
Well, he does have the map if he wants to go find the other half of the combo also.
This is not looking great for Caleb.
Right, I mean, right now he can make 6 mana, play Batter Skull map. Next turn he can sack the smokestack if he wants and go get the other half of the combo.
Yeah, I guess he can't do all of it. He can't do Better Skull and activate Dark Depths next turn. Yeah. Trying for the misstep, I guess. Yeah. I don't think Delver can raise that.
Yeah, I don't see this game is looking pretty bad for Caleb. He's really going to need to find some artifact removal right now. And he's going to have to remove the Batter Skull and then have to deal with the Dark Depths that's about to happen in a few turns also.
I mean, yeah, that's step 1.
Yep, he's got step one. But he's still got to deal with this smokestack, which is going to be eating him alive.
Well, if he finds another lightning bolt now, he can 6 him now, and then maybe 6 him next turn again. And if Bob taps Ancient Tomb... But good that that's not Manic Vandal. If that was a Manic Vandal, that would be quite hilarious.
Alright, so he's going to evoke the Ingot Chewer, destroy the Batter Skull. Now what does Bob sack to the smokestack? Maybe the
Probably. Yeah, you can use Ancient Tomb to fetch a land and then sacrifice it. That seems fine. I mean, you certainly don't want to tap that thing much more. Like, if you tap it once more, that's fine. Then you're not dying to one lightning bolt on the Delver attack.
And he does have a Tangle Wire, which is going to, in addition with smokestack, pretty much eliminate Caleb's board without even having to take it up to 2.
You're not going to take up Smokestick here, right? I think you keep it at 1.
I think you almost certainly keep it at 1. I mean, I could see a weird situation where you go... The thing is, if you go to 2, then you don't want to... You want to clear his board, but you don't want to sack 2 and then have it go to... have him sack 1 left, because he'll sack 2 and then he'll have 1 left. So you want to leave it on 1 and just nickel and dime him 1 at a time.
Yep.
With him having an odd number right now. Now, if he had 4 permanents, I could see a case for 2. He sacks 2, then you sack 2, then he sacks 2, and you sack it in 1. But with him having 3, there's no reason. So now the Tangle Wire is going to keep Bob alive for a while he goes and finds the other half of the combo, and that should be game.
He only needs 1 turn. Then
Right.
The 2020 token can block the Delver.
Well,
it's
the
going to be pretty
Delver's
difficult to get out of this.
Delver's never going to be untapped. Tangle Wire is incredible in this situation with Smokestack. The combination is just so powerful.
Yeah, especially against a deck with like 15 lands and all cantrips. So difficult to get permanents into play if you don't have a Pyromancer.
So Bob can go get the stage. And then what is this? The stage costs 2 to copy?
Yep.
So he actually, and then he can, so he's going to take 7 plus 2 taps of the Ancient Tomb. He's going to be at 3. So if Caleb rips a bolt somehow and is able to bolt Bob in the middle of all this, he can win.
Pyromancer a bit late to the party. That would have been good 2 turns ago.
So now in the end step, he should go get the Thespian stage.
I mean, he has to be scared of a second bolt, right?
Yeah, he has to be scared of it, but I don't know what he can do. I don't know what his other options are. Like, you're scared of it. The longer you sit here, if you don't go for it, he's going to draw it eventually. So I think you have to go for it.
Yeah, I think so too, actually. But what does he sacrifice then? Just the workshop, maybe?
Smokestack, because your Tangle Wire, you have him under control with Tangle Wire for enough turns before he can do anything. Your Merit Lage will kill him before. So you just sack the Smokestack, play your Thespian stage, pass, he taps out, you make a token, you untap, and you just win. And he's, you don't need him to sack anything. They're all getting tapped.
Yep, good points.
So now Bob has to manage his triggers in the right order. I don't mess this up anymore, but in the beginning...
It took me like 2 minutes last week, I think.
Yeah, you have to okay, wait, which one? Okay, first? I mean, it's so much easier in real life when you can just say it. I'm not screwing myself. That's how I'm declaring it. So
Bob managed to do it correctly.
Now he has to tap 3 permanents, the Wire, the Smokestack, and I don't know how...
Dark Depths, surely, right?
Dark Depths, because I don't think it has to be untapped. So he tapped the Factory, which is interesting. I guess there's nothing he could really draw that he needs to cast here anyways.
Sphere would be pretty nice.
Yeah, what is Dark Depth? If it's tapped, can you still do all the shenanigans? Can you copy it and sack it? Yeah, you can, right?
I think so.
So he should have definitely tapped that instead of the Workshop in case he draws a Sphere of some sort.
Like, if he draws Trini Sphere, the game's over. Like, he can't possibly lose anymore.
Right. So, yeah, and Dark Depths actually has no ability that he's using it for.
Like, even if he draws a Chalice now, he can't cast it anymore. Like, he can only... I mean, he would probably still just cast Chalice and do the Dark Depths stunt next turn, but...
Now that it's tapped, he can sack it, but, I mean, there's no reason not to sack Smokestack here.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
But tapping the workshop, I guess you could just sack that. But
Yeah, that probably was his plan, but maybe he just realized that he doesn't really need the smokestack anymore. The
right,
Tanglewire just covers him, as you said.
right, because you're winning when you're next on tap phase, and he only has 2 permanents. He's tapping 3. You untap, you attack for 20. I mean, I guess if Caleb somehow has the repeal in his hand and draws a land and can play land, repeal it, then you might wish you had that smokestack in play, for the following turns. But
Yeah, but that has to be tempting, actually. Okay.
no, you always just I guess to stop so you can get him down to
I
nothing.
mean, yeah, if you strip mine the mountain now, and then the island is gone to the smokestack, I mean,
Then he can't repeal on his upkeep. But
can't repeal, can't lightning bolt you. I mean,
but theoretically, he's going to be tapped out. You're just going to make it end of turn and then untap and kill him.
sure. Yeah, but now you lose 2 lightning bolt in his hand. Like, if you strip mine the mountain there, you just don't lose 2 lightning bolt anymore. Then he needs the lightning bolt and the red mana source.
But you get to see what he does, right? Because he has to tap. So if he has to bolt you now, and then you just don't make it.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The only way he loses is him having the mana in his hand. So, unfortunately for Caleb, he has been relegated to the single elim play-in, which is next week. So he's not out of it. He still has a chance. He can 3-0 that and be in it. Now Bob has moved on in the bracket. Bob has a win-in against the loser of match 14, which I think is Paul Rietzel's match. Because I know
Paul against Brian Kelly, yeah.
Right. So because if I lose, I go down to the bottom and play the winner of you versus Shuhei. So Bob has gotten himself a win-in to get back in the league. I'm sure his wife is not happy about that.
Bad news from the family.
And our next match is your match, right? You versus Shuhei, and you're on your version of Shops against his Oath deck. How do you feel about that matchup?
I mean, I've never played against that combo deck. He has 1 Grudge main deck. I have no idea how good the explosives are against me. I would guess they are not great. I mean, they are good, like better than a Flusterstorm or something, but I'm not overly afraid. But I mean, Oath is always a problematic matchup in game 1, I think. Like, if he just gets the Oath draw, I'm just dead instantly. I do wonder how much Ensnaring Bridge can screw him. There's like a chance he has a problem winning that. And then any sphere shuts down the stupid Lotus combo, right?
Yeah.
With just 1 sphere effect, he can't generate infinite mana.
I don't know who I'm rooting for, because if I don't beat Steven, I have to play the winner of your matchup. And I already did beat Shuhei, but it wasn't a cakewalk. It was a pretty tough match, and Shops matchups can always be tough. So I don't know who I'd rather face if I lose to Steven. So hopefully I just send the Doomsday deck down to you boys.
I mean, I don't necessarily want to play against your deck, but I think Shui wants to play less against your deck than I do.
Yeah, I mean,
you have Disenchant main deck and 3 Containment Priests, just all such a nightmare, I think.
Yeah, no, I feel comfortable against either matchup. I mean, I actually think the hardest of my three maybe matchups is the Doomsday matchup right now.
Yeah, I mean, your deck is somewhat weak against Doomsday and Mentor, I think.
Yeah.
Like, your deck is like very good against Shops and O's and all these kind of decks.
So yeah, it's going to be an interesting night. I'm actually not excited for a long match with Steven because he's pretty slow. And I'm playing
Come on, I mean, how long can a Doomsday pile take? 15 minutes, 20 minutes? It can't be that bad.
I think the match might take about an hour. Because if I get control of the match, I just have to attack for 2 for a lot of turns. Yep. And every turn with Steve takes a while. So I'm prepared to dig in for a very long match. And then
every turn there's a Brainstorm or a Ponder, and then all that stuff takes time. I mean.
And probably another long match if I lose against either you or Shuhei. Although our match I don't think would be as long as me and Shuhei's match. Our match 2 weeks ago was epic, so long.
Yeah, I don't think we would waste anyone's time.
All right, well, we're off to break to set up for your match so you can get ready to play Shuhei. I'm excited to watch, and good luck.
Hopefully he gets a little bit less lucky than last match, as he said himself, but we shall see.